Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on our Committed to Community series. Today, we're going to be talking about business survival, tips and tricks. We have Justin Freeman, CEO of Bagel Sphere, with us today, and then Natalie Shield, CEO of Shield Catering, with us today. And something we've noticed, and I'm sure the community is well aware, our restaurants are closed down, and those who can are doing takeout and delivery, but those who can't are trying to figure out how to readjust, how to take what they're doing and turn it into something different so that we can all try and last as long as we can. It's been quite a struggle. And what we've gotten as far as feedback goes from our members is that nobody has a perfect system. We're all in this together. Nobody knows how long it's going to last. And we're all doing our best to hang in there. So as a chamber, we wanted to bring some people together that have found a way to pivot and shift. And I just realized I don't think I even introduced myself. My name is Heidi Bloodgood. I am the marketing coordinator for the Eugene Area Chamber of Commerce. So I'm really excited to be here. Also, as you've noticed, I am living out a childhood fantasy of mine as I am on the Lido deck for the Starship Enterprise. So it's going great in space right now. I'm sure everybody's having a great sunny day in Eugene, but the sun will be coming around in about 15 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys to introduce yourselves, but we've got a lot of questions in our queue, and really we just want to know, how are you guys doing this? How are we surviving together? What are some tips that we can use in our businesses to kind of either replicate or get inspiration from what you guys have done? But really, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the webinar today.
Yeah, definitely. Justin, you want to take that one first, or?
Yeah, sure. Sure. Yeah, my name is Justin. I'm the owner of Bagel Sphere. We put holes in bread. And I've been doing that for about 3 years. Prior to that, I was the GM over at Hummingbird Wholesale. And, we've got 3 locations, although right now we're down to about a half of a location, or maybe a quarter of a location. But yeah, that's kind of who we are. And we'll just wait for questions to answer more.
And I'm Natalie Shield. I am the owner and executive chef over at Shield Catering and Cafe. And I also am the owner of Pig and Turnip out in Springfield. And we Shield's been up and going for 5.5 years, and Pig and Turnip for about 4.5 at this point. So been doing that. And right now we've kind of consolidated all of our operations into the public house building, and we're doing family meals and stuff like that right now, but we'll get more into that, I know, as we move along. But that's kind of my history and what we've been doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for joining us. So our first question is, what was your first reaction, and what steps did you first take when restaurants started to close their doors, and how did you handle that conversation with your staff and with your community?
Yes. Yeah. So despair is probably the right word.
It was a good word for it.
But not shock. I mean, since early January, I knew this was coming. I mean, I called my dad like January 9th. Like, okay, there's this thing in China. This is how these things work. This is what's coming our way. Just get ready. So whatever. I mean, we knew that. And that said, there's a really disgusting feeling that when you go from doing 0 layoffs in your entire career to 30 in one day, that it's awful. There's just no other way. It's absolutely awful and gut wrenching. And so, yeah, those first few days were horrible. And just figuring out what we were going to do.
Yeah. And I mean, I would echo that is, we take a lot of pride. And, one of my first founding principles was make good employment in the community, and to have to consolidate to survive, that was hard. One of the things I talked a lot about with my staff is at first, we weren't sure obviously it was that whole thing where the governor said, no, we're not closing, and then we are. And that week was, the climax week for everybody, where we all had to really make these hard decisions. And the biggest thing that I kept telling my staff is, listen, like, I'm going to work my butt off so that you have a job in 2 or 3 months. Like, that was a really big thing that we just kept bringing up. Like, I had to find that silver lining, and that's the only thing, is like, I'm going to do everything I can to protect your long-term job, because it sucks, and it's like Justin said, it felt like despair. Like it was like, what do you do? But protecting those jobs long term has always been my goal. So
Yeah.
and it was a good way to talk to the staff about it too, because they knew, we were all in this together. It was going to be hard on both ends.
Yeah, so we've been in this for officially about a month almost. So are there things that you've learned now that you kind of wish you knew a month ago?
It would have been nice to know about the PPP loans and stuff, that was even an option and that we should be preparing for that. But I mean, and I know some people have been able to get them, some people haven't. I'm technically approved for one, but I don't know what that means. Like nobody knows. And that's part of it is, more information is always lovely. But
yeah, I mean, I'd say clarity is critical. I think most of our elected reps have done a really good job, and they've been very unclear at the same time. What Natalie referred to earlier of the stay open then shut down kind of Monday that we all experienced in restaurants cost the state at least $1 million in wasted food prep. No question. I mean, just that 3 hours of, you can stay open. I mean, we committed, we did a huge bake. We and our staff felt good. And so I got to go from having a happy conversation to a bad conversation and giving away, throwing out tons of food. That little just flip was at least $1 million in waste for the state of Oregon on small businesses, so that was really critical. And then, like Natalie said too, with the PPP, and I'll make one comment on this. I have been hammering this. I'd ask you if you're listening, pull up my personal Facebook page. I've made a very, very lengthy post about the problems with PPP, even if you get it. So, and I will get off my soapbox here, but I just briefly, for those of us who've been closed in order to support public health, which is, bars, restaurants, dentist office, hair salons, barbershops, medical practices, gyms, non-essential retail, all of those businesses, we cannot meet the requirements that PPP has set out in order to have a forgivable loan. If your business was moderately or mildly impacted by coronavirus and you still have all your staff, PPP is awesome. It's a forgivable grant. You get 2 months of free payroll and you get subsidized rent and utilities. For those of us, though, who have borne the burden of supporting public health by being shut down, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, it's a good thing, we don't have the staff, nor can we possibly hire back the staff in this ridiculously short 8-week period to spend 75% of the money so that we can have the other 25% available for rent and have a forgivable loan. Right now, the way PPP is structured, for all of us who have shut down to support public health, is the anchor around the neck of a drowning man. And so I urge you to reach out to any group that you're a part of. Share stuff on Facebook, reach out to legislators, let them know that we appreciate so much what they did, but they've gotten it wrong. And they also need to refill and refund that. There needs to be more. Natalie needs to get more, They also need to make sure that they're reaching out to Spanish language and other non-English language business owners. In our business, so many of our colleagues do not have English as a first language. And PPP is hard for us who do speak English. Now I speak English, we don't speak legalese, which is the language that PPP is presented in. So how much harder if you're translating from legalese to English to Spanish? So please, we ask you, if you care about any of the local and independent businesses in your community, please advocate on our behalf, because otherwise, for most of us, it's going to be really challenging. So off my high horse there. Done.
No, thank you for that feedback. I mean, it's helpful to hear what's going on and what our businesses are thinking. So if you don't mind, if I could ask a follow-up question to that. So given your information, you just gave a call to action for businesses, but what are you as Bagelsphere planning to do to kind of adjust to that? Because that is a really big challenge. So do you as a business, out of curiosity, do you have a strategy of
Sure.
what you're going to do?
The strategy is not to do what you're supposed to do.
Oh.
Here's why. So I'm supposed to think about this for a second. We have no idea how long we will be shut down. We don't. The governor is doing an awesome job trying to manage everything. We have no idea how long we're going to be shut down. We have no idea how long our customers will be shut down because we have wholesale business. Natalie has a lot of event-driven business. She may be able to reopen, but the people she caters for may not be able to reopen. So to think that somehow magically 8 weeks is going to solve everything. No, I may need this money in July and August and September. So I'm going to fight legislatively and administrative rulemaking as hard as I can to get them to get rid of that. And I'm not going to spend that money in the interim. If I have to, I'll find a way to blow it. It's going to be on crazy. I have no idea. Honestly, there's not a legitimate strategy that jives with public health needs and with your employees' financial best interests to push this thing forward. So right now, I'm trying to fight legislatively, preserve the money in hopes that they relax the regulations. We are hiring back as much as we can, and it's still really hard. A lot of people have taken to heart shelter in place, stay at home, do not work. They're also enjoying the bonus unemployment of an extra $600 per week. So it's really hard to get people who want to come back to work. So we are doing everything we can. We're also trying not to spend the money that we did receive, and we're fighting very, very hard to get the program fixed.
And I would kind of be on the tail end of that and say, like, I think you're exactly right. Finding people to come back to work is an issue because of that bonus that they're getting, as well as, you know, when my mind just went blank, but when we're looking at doing this for our community, we want to be safe, and we want to keep, we are very fortunate over here at Public House because we have a huge kitchen. It allows us to distance in place. Like it really does. We get our own like big station, like somebody can be back in the back, but that's a privilege. That's not something that most people have. That's not something that a lot of restaurants have. Our kitchens tend to be very small and work in close proximity with other people. And so I think that's one of those big issues that does come up about the PPP loan is, trying to get those people back to work. Even in our very large kitchen, we're struggling to make sure that people stay socially distant, and that's a big thing. I think that's one of the things that's not working great is, people need to get back to work, but also we need to stay safe and keep our customers safe.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for that feedback. It is really helpful, and not to totally veer away from that. But despite all of these challenges, though, both of you have found ways to pivot in your approach. So not to just to bring some light at the end of the tunnel, can you go into that a little bit?
We somehow got onto the depressing first, which is
no, it's good.
I think I respect what you're doing, Justin, and I think what we're doing over here at Shields and at Pig and Turnip, we're doing some awesome things, and I'm really excited about it. And it is turning out to be, actually, we are finding new revenue sources that we didn't have initially, and that's been really exciting. But to do that, what it basically took, I'd like to go back to your first question, Heidi, actually, where you said, what was that first week like? And it started with despair. And I think we're moving through this, emotionally pretty accurately in this conversation, actually, because the next thing that happened was, okay, how do we do a hard pivot? How do we do that? I mean, we were just ramping up. We had 25 people on staff. We were ramping up to hire another 5 to 10 people because, event season's coming, all this stuff. And what happened was we did hard stop and regroup.
Yeah.
And so we did keep one person full-time, our full-time second hand, my right hand guy, we kept on. And we let everyone else go at that point, which was the hardest day ever. But then what was able to happen was, with a few small minds, we were able to say, what works for us? What can we do with little labor that's beneficial to the community? And I think that was the best and is my biggest piece of advice to anybody. Ask, what does the community need that I have? And look around you and think outside the box. So we looked around and we said, we have all of this food that's just, because we had so many ingredients. It was early on in the week. We had tons of ingredients, and we're like, okay, so we have a full kitchen. It's like we have a grocery store. So we went shopping in the walk-in and put together some family meals. And for us, has been a lifesaver. Not that I want to like get everybody doing family meals, but that was what worked for us, and something that worked for us because, you know, we're a catering company. We're used to doing bulk production and execution, and then turning that around, and we just packaged it in smaller portions, and that worked fantastically. And I would say, for those of you out there doing family meals, little trick, get a menu, a weekly menu, or a 2-week menu, or something where people can anticipate, and then if they miss something, they can go back to it. Like if you're doing a rotating menu, because what we found was we were kind of switching it up daily. And what we found was the ones that sell the best are the ones that we've done 2 or 3 weeks in a row now, because we were like, oh yeah, I missed the tri-tip last week. I want to do the tri-tip this week. So, so that was our first pivot that we did. And that was the first one that started like really producing amazing results, where we said, okay, what's working? The other thing I think just really important kind of is making sure, acknowledging what's going on around you, because usually our prices are a lot higher than what we're charging right now. We did a pivot on our price point too. And the way that we made that work was doing the family meals, but like really acknowledging, you know, you have a bunch of people laid off. You have a bunch of, you know, people with kids that aren't getting school meals, like making sure those price points really work for a family, and the portioning is good and it's generous. So generosity and thoughtfulness to like, yes, we still need to all make a profit, and the whole point of this is just to be in business at the end, but also realizing the situation, and that it's not just our businesses that are in dire straits, but every other person in the community.
Yeah, I think that's really kind of the exact process we went through. It's like, okay, once we got over the initial shock, there was a moment where I just went, okay, we're going to go bankrupt. That's big. And once you stare that in the face, well, I'm like, once you stare that in the face, like, okay, well, you've named the fear. It's out there. It's defanged, you know. So what are you gonna do about it? You know, put on your big boy pants or big girl pants and go solve it. And so it's kind of what we did. You know, it's like the show MacGyver. That's kind of what we've been operating as, like, look around and go, okay, give me a pine cone, a can of gasoline, some aluminum foil, and I'll make a hand grenade. You know, that's exactly what we're doing. What's really been funny to watch is all the business advice over the years that you realize is just a complete load of crap that's put out there by people who've actually never done anything. And so I won't name any of that right now, but I've been learning that, which is fun.
Shots fired.
learning that as an owner in general over the past few years, but also recognizing advice that you've heard over the years that may have been mocked, but that works. You know, the frugality proposed by Dave Ramsey and the liquidity that he proposes. You know what? I sleep great at night because my wife and I followed what he said for a long time. You know, like, we may not have any income coming in from her job or my job for a while, but like, we didn't have to go liquidate our stocks to be able to pay our mortgage, you know, and we'd done a similar thing with our business. So we had a couple months worth of cash sitting aside, which we were burned through, you know, a month's worth of that, and we'll burn through more and more. And thankfully we got PPP, but, you know, it was taking stock of what we had. You know, once I recognized, okay, the worst thing that can happen is that we go bankrupt, which means we're still better off than many people in many parts of the world. Okay, that's fine. Now let's take stock of what we got. Okay, here's some things we did wisely. Here's some things we did unwisely. Okay, this is the situation that we're in. Now let's start doing stuff. And one thing that's been great is people on Facebook have been wonderful. There's a couple of different groups that have been sprung up locally.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You know, like a support Lane County restaurants. And then there's another one that's like Eugene and Springfield Takeout. And what's great is you can go on there and ask somebody if they would buy something. And so that's what we did. I said, hey, if we threw a website up and sold frozen bread, because most bread in America is frozen. before it gets to the supermarket, and it does great. Bread is awesome frozen. I was like, if we did that with, bulk bagels and take and bake bagels and take and bake scones, would you guys buy them? You could throw this in your freezer and it's going to help you stay at home. You'll still get your food, but you can stay at home, and not come out as frequently. And, 5 or 6 people said yes. So that night I sat and hacked out the world's crappiest website. And, and we're selling stuff. It's a business. We're not going to stop doing it. Our take and bake bagels, it's really funny. I've long wanted, this is how I eat bagels. I take our pre-made frozen bagels. I take them home. I proof them myself. I boil them and bake them at home because they're the best bagels on the planet. And I've always thought, well, we should sell those. Now I know we should sell those. I had a guy drive down from Walterville. He bought a dozen a week ago. He came back this week and bought 4 dozen. He's like, I need this. Nice. And so what's really cool is it helped us realize, what? People always say, oh, who makes the best bagels? You know what? We don't make the best bagels. Nobody does, except you in your own home. You make the best bagels. And so if we can give you the thing so you can get it done, great. And so we're looking at probably within the next week, selling the stuff nationally, shipping it, because why not? Nobody does it. And what's been interesting for us, we have a wholesale business. We sell bagels in grocery stores, and we had to redesign all that overnight. When we go, what we deliver, who we go to, minimums, all that. So that was fun. And we've got a couple of, we sell our stuff to some of the Human Being locations and a few other places as well. And that's always been intentional for me. What I've told our staff for a couple of years, our bakery staff, is your business needs to be an octopus. It's like it needs to have 8 strong arms, because someday one of those arms is going to get cut off. And you want to be able to still work with the other 7. And, we're not up to 8 arms, but we probably had 4.5. And then the retail got cut off. And, instead of being dead in the water, we're still drowning, but we're alive. We're working on our other stuff. And I would say, and it's funny, my dad asked me last night on the phone, he's like, how are you doing? They're really concerned, It's like, how are you doing? I was like, I made up a word today. I feel like I'm in survival mode, but we are thriving. We are thriving. We are just coming up.
I love that. I'm going to steal that.
You can have it, Natalie.
Awesome.
Give me a free sandwich when you guys reopen Pig and Turnip. It's yours. Best schnitzel on the planet, by the way.
Pig and Turnip shirts.
Done. Yes.
Oh my gosh. No, I actually love that, because you're right. It is thrival. Can't say.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thriving.
There we go. No, it is, and that is very much how it feels. I like what you're saying about the octopus. I encourage people. I feel like people might get discouraged with the idea that, oh, well, my business doesn't have 8 revenue streams or even 4 revenue streams. Like, how great for you that you did that the last couple years. But I think this is the most amenable time to start another branch, and don't be scared to do that. I think that would be something that you could really take away from this, is you could start, if you have an idea, like people making the best bagels in their own home, something that you like doing. If you have I don't even know if I knew, I would be doing it, but but if you have something that you've always thought this would be great, or this is a really positive part of what I do, or I could make this into a little package that I could sell, or whatever it is, I believe the market right now is people wanting to support. And if you have something that somebody could support you could make a good profit and would be a good service to somebody, put it out there right now. People are doing nothing but spending their time on Facebook right now. Yep. Just put it on Facebook.
If I could find it, I would love to buy like a quart mason jar full of awesome tikka masala sauce or jalfrezi because the stuff, I don't have time right now to make the stuff because I'm working like a dog, and I eat way too much Indian food it's not okay how much Indian food I eat, but I'd love to make it at home. If you're a Mexican restaurant, man, you would kill with like dozens of tamales right now.
Oh my God, yes.
Chinese or Vietnamese restaurants, there's some really good sauce bases. You could introduce people to some amazing flavors that they could cook at home, you know, and who knows, because the thing is, half of the ideas you throw out there, they're going to fail anyway, and be fine with that. You know, recognize, oh, we tried some crap that didn't work, and that's fine. You know, just fail small, fail smart, and fail fast. You know, just try it, get it out there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, there's the whole, in terms of good business advice, there's the idea of the minimum viable product. You hear about this stuff in startups all the time. Basically, just get it across the finish line, get it out there, sell your first one. You know, we just reopened our, what's that?
And take a picture of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get that on IG, I guess. You know, I've got a guy we just brought back this week, and I was like, all right, Gabe, we're gonna start doing Grubhub or start doing takeout, and you know, we've got like our doors open with a table wedged in it so people can't come in, just at our West 11th bakery. And I was like, what do you want to do, man? He's like, well, I've always wanted us to have a cold brew business. Okay, so I bought a toddy, and now we're making cold brew.
Nice.
I was like, what else do you want to do? He's like, I want to make cereal milk lattes. I was like, what is that? He's like, you take Fruity Pebbles, you pour them, soak them in milk, then you strain that out, then you use that to foam your lattes. Oh my goodness, it's the bomb. It's so good. Like, I had one yesterday, and it's like, I wanted to go. I know it sounds like I probably had 6 today because I'm so fired up, but I had one yesterday, and it's like, I wanted to go watch Sesame Street and take a nap. Like, it's like childhood with a shot of caffeine, you know? And so this is stuff, you know, we've made probably 5 years worth of progress in the last month. I mean, I'm working 80 hours a week. Natalie and I we're doing stuff that we don't normally do. Show them what we,
Oh yeah. We have our war wounds.
Yeah, we both burned ourselves on our ovens in the last week because we're in there getting our hands dirty. I mean, as soon as I get off this call, I'm going back to prepping 160 meals for the Lane Event Center homeless community tonight. And you know what? I've tried like 9 different recipes that I haven't done before, and I've got 7 that are pretty awesome. You know, because I'm trying to serve people food that I would eat at my house at a price point that fits the needs of the county. But yeah, there's so much to try right now.
As well.
What's that?
We're doing the 2 smaller shelters tonight as well. So,
Awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So if I could interject, because this is a great train of thought, and I want to keep it continuing. So you guys have made these pivots. You guys have done these shifts. You're exploring new revenue streams, and whether or not someone is a restaurant in the restaurant industry or they're in a different industry, you know, they come up with this great idea, but how do they communicate it? So what streams of either social media or email marketing, what have you guys done to actually communicate your new ideas to all of your customers?
It's a great question. I know social media has been just a lifesaver during this time, especially those groups for restaurants specifically that Justin mentioned, the takeout and delivery, and then the support. The support Lane County food restaurant distillery page. Those 2 pages for us have been phenomenal, as well as, you know, what's going on in Springfield, what's going on in Cottage Grove. We do have
Eugene Foodies.
Just everybody has been so supporting, and then B, just everybody is excited about it. It's our community right now. So like, that's where people are getting community and coming together and sharing and talking. So that's been a really great one for us. I mean, if you have an email list, yes, of course, use it. That has been very helpful for us, having a large email list. That's been really, really helpful. But yeah, I think, and the surprising one for me has been Instagram, because that's not where we've done a lot of development in our companies so far, but that has been just a phenomenal resource where we've gotten quite a few sales through Instagram, where people are like, oh, I saw this really delicious looking thing that sounds so fun. So, you know, at Sheila Catering Chef and at Pagan Turnip Cafes.
I've been watching. You guys have great. I realized I probably should have eaten before I talked to 2 amazing food service people. I'm like getting all hungry now.
Well, you know, I'd say Facebook has been great. If you're going to send an email, or whatever you're going to communicate, please don't do what most marketers are doing right now. Don't tell us how much you care. Don't tell us what you're doing for coronavirus, unless you have to.
Yeah.
Don't, you know, it's like, I go home after living in this crap all day, you know, and I'll throw on HBO or Netflix or whatever and try and zone out. And I'll tell you what, before the show starts, there's a message from the CDC about social distancing. Oh, really? I didn't know I was supposed to be doing that, and like every email I get is like, I don't need to know that the guy I bought paint from 6 years ago. I don't need to know that, like, here's the steps they're taking, so for most marketers, just stop. Just don't, you're choking our inboxes with stuff that we don't want to read. A lot of times it's off tone, or it's just, it's unnecessary. So if you're going to share something, I think be positive, as opposed to my tone in this talk right now. Be really positive. Show people something new and creative, because that's what they want. They don't want to be coddled by a brand. Nobody wants to feel their arms wrapped around them by the social media department. I mean, show them what you're doing in the community. Show them what you're doing that's new, what's creative, what's fun. Remind them that life is a lot of fun, and here's some fun they can have right now. Don't just send these generic, like, check the box COVID, boilerplate emails.
And make them informative too. I think there's a sense of, like, the last email I sent, I actually had lots of people actually respond to it, which was so encouraging for me. Like, it was definitely as beneficial for me to, like, get that feedback, I think, is the people who enjoyed the email itself. But I was able to share and say, this is what was successful this week for our company. We brought back 1.5 one full-time position, 1 part-time position. And it was because, our Easter family meals went over so well. There was such a brilliant response from the community about that. Talking about, what are we doing to support the community right now, and sharing that good news. Like, I think people are looking for good news right now. So I think sharing good news is it's a powerful bringer together.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I completely agree. I mean, getting out there and just giving people something to be excited about, something to be happy about. I also think, being vulnerable, what did work, what didn't work. And then expressing a lot of gratitude. When things, like Natalie said, when things work, we went on, I guess this was maybe a week ago, I went on and I was like, hey, because you all did this, we were able to bring this person back. And people were like, oh, we love that. Or I had a guy the other day show up. He spent $5 on some onion bagels and tipped $100 to our baker, and I don't know who he is. I thanked him on one of those food groups on Facebook. Like 250 people were like, oh, that's amazing. That has nothing to do with us, but it brings hope to people. And so that's the right kind of stuff to share right now, this real story of people doing good for other people, I guess.
it humanizes business, I think, too, which,
because we're humans.
Yeah.
which sometimes is easy to forget. That's one of the things my staff often says, is like, oh my gosh, today was so hard, everybody was so mean. And this is a time when not a lot of people are being as mean, which is really nice. So take advantage of it.
I would say I really hope people reflect on that. We run what are called low margin businesses. We don't make a ton of money, and a low margin business means that we are doing our very best to provide you, the customer, with as much value as we can. If it costs us $8 to make and do and produce something, and you're paying $10 for it, you're getting incredible value. And so maybe don't be as harsh if you could help it, and as critical all the time. Yeah, give us feedback. But I like the kinder, gentler attitudes we're seeing right now. It's really not. I feel like people are treating us like we're actually people.
That's always a great improvement. That's a great improvement. So I had a question for you guys on a more personal level, because you both are leaders in your company. There's a responsibility that comes with that. And especially during this crisis, you have people looking up to you for direction. And just watching my own CEO, Brittany Quickwarner, she's doing an incredible job, but she has a lot of weight. And I, as an employer, employee, I'm trying to do what I can to support that mental load. But sometimes it's so difficult. So what I would love to hear just personally is, as a leader in this community, as a leader of your business, what do you guys need the most from us, to help you carry that mental load, to help you feel supported as you are carrying really like the weight of the company and all the decisions that you're making, and all of the ways that you're pivoting, who you're, having to let go, who you're hoping to hire back. I mean, making those decisions just must be so difficult. So what do you need from us? What can we do as your employees to help you?
I know one of the things that has been just a really wonderful thing. One of the decisions I made as an employer was in our employee system where we do all of our home, it's called home base. So it's our time scheduling and stuff. I left everybody in there. So when we laid everybody off, I said, hey, I'm not going to cut you off from your community. Everybody's still in this space. You can talk to each other. You can do whatever. I think one of the most magical experiences that I've had is that people will randomly just send me messages and they'll just say like, hey, we know that you're struggling too, and we're thinking about you. And that has been phenomenal. Just that verbal reach out, or, email reach out, just like, and also hearing, it's not your fault is nice, because sometimes it's easy to take that really like, oh my gosh, this was me. I had to lay you off. I created this business and sometimes it's easy to feel like it's not strong enough to weather the storm. Your job wasn't as secure as I wanted it to be, which is silly because that's just not true. Like it could have been like,
dare you not plan for COVID?
Yeah, global pandemics. Your business should be global pandemic worthy. Like, so, seeing those people, just seeing them still alive in your life, I think seeing my employees still alive in my life is one of the hardest things, to be without. And seeing people come through and say, I care about you, or even just like, hey, this is what I did today. So, because I'm part of that community too. And I think sometimes it's easy as an employee to forget like, oh, that's right. That person was a part of my daily life too. And they need that just as much support as the conversations I'm having with my line cook who, I saw every day and was my best friend. So.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like for those of us who are working in this and are fortunate enough to have something we can go and do, we're learning 20 years worth of lessons in 2 months. It's going to be really interesting when you look back at this generation of leaders in businesses and nonprofits and elsewhere. We may end up being the second greatest generation, not because of our own virtue, but because we went through something really crappy. And we learned a lot. There may be down the road a lot of strength in this generation, or we may all get worn out by the whole thing and quit. I don't know. One of the two is true. But for me, as I go through this, I don't want anything from my employees that I'm not already giving to them. The employees that I do have, and I just want to be fully transparent. The thing that gets me through, I have very strong religious faith. I believe that God loves me. That sounds weird to say on a business call, but I do. And I believe, there's a saying in the Bible where Jesus basically is like, look, you're never going to have anything you can't handle from day to day. I'm going to give you enough strength to get through it. And so literally at dinner at night, I sit there with my wife and I'm like, every night I'm like, God, tomorrow's not going to be any easier. I don't see why. You never said it was going to be easy. But you did say that I would have the strength to go through it. And so I asked that you would give me the strength for tomorrow and to do it with grace and with kindness and with dignity and with empathy. And that because you love me, that people would see that I love them. Help me to do that. And if I can do that, even if the whole business falls apart, even if everything around me falls apart, it's still a good day. And so it's been really interesting, to kind of grow. And it's funny, things that a month ago would have crushed me. I had one night, three nights ago, where I got three horrible pieces of news within 5 minutes.
Oh
Like
no.
three just boom, 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 it was terrible. And I just kind of laughed because I was like, no, I got this. This is okay. And a month ago, it would have just crushed me for a day or a week or whatever. But like now it's just like, no, I got this. And so with my staff, the team that we do have, it's small, but it's growing. We were down to 3 and now I think we're back up to 8. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Congratulations. That's a good victory.
It's really good. And, the team I do have, I want to like make sure that I'm modeling kind of the love and the compassion and the care and being upbeat as much as I can, being transparent with what's hard and where I'm failing, where I'm struggling. And I don't ask for this, but what I hope for is that by modeling that, I see some of that back in return. I'm really intentional too about repeating why it is we're doing what we're doing, because they're struggling through the pandemic. We all are. And so I just try and say, hey, here's the things we are doing. I was like, every new line of activity that we add on, other than doing some takeout, everything else we do is helping people get through this. It's helping people stay at home. It's giving them good food. It's giving them an activity to do with their kids, whatever it is. We're feeding the homeless, and they're so excited and they enjoy that. And I've always told my staff, I said, when you go to work during the day, you are with your coworkers more during that day than you are with your family. Generally, you're there 8 hours, you're probably awake longer than you are awake with your family that day. So you really need to like one another. You need to get along. And so we've really pushed that to a higher standard. And so just looking for that camaraderie and that grace with one another is just really critical. I'm going to screw things up. I've probably screwed up 5 big things today already. There's probably, I'm looking out the window. I don't think the bakery's burning down, but there's something I did out there I screwed up, I'm sure. And so just them having grace with me is probably the best thing that can happen, because we're not infallible. We're struggling. We're going to screw this up. But, to expect anything from them, I need to show them that I care about them, and that, I'm trying to do the best I can to serve them, I guess is the answer I would give.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you both. First, I just want to pause and say thank you so much for that transparency, because that can be really difficult to provide that level of vulnerability. I think is what our community needs. Like, we just need to know that everyone else is human, and that we're human, and that there's grace for that, because it's true. And I really appreciated what you both had to say about finding something that grounded you, having sweet messages from your coworkers, and having, like a faith, something that keeps you solid, that you can continue to go back to. So just first, thank you so much. And I will kind of veer it back towards business, but I just wanted to pause and say thank you for just being honest, because I think that's really important. So we're going to be wrapping up in about 15 minutes. So I want to make sure that we've got some time. Maybe some questions are coming in, but if you had to give 1 or 2 resources for the business community that have been really helpful for you, whether it's necessarily specific to the food industry or maybe something outside of that, what has been something that people can kind of take away if they have a problem and they need to research something, or maybe I'm rambling. Resources. What are some resources? I'll just stop rambling.
Well, I have one specifically for restaurants that I would highly, highly recommend. Together Restaurant Consulting has been just a pillar in my business since this all started. We were consulting with them for the last 2 months, kind of restructuring our business already. I had been saying for the last about year that winter is coming. So apparently it's a doozy of a winter. The White Walkers are here. Yes. But the culmination of that was I was working with Together Restaurant Consulting. So I happened to be working with them at the time that all this hit, and they have just been, Seth and the team over there has just been phenomenal. If you have any questions, I know they are taking messages on Facebook and calls and things like that. I don't know what exactly their services are for this, but I do know they have been doing some kind of emergency consulting with people who are struggling. So that is one that has just been really powerful for me. And then I would say Facebook. I know that's really kind of crazy, but like those Facebook groups, they've been working.
Nice. It's good.
I know it's called a pop-up. Sorry if I took yours, Justin.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, that's my number one. But two others, I'll go kind of a different route. One, if you're in food and you want to try something crazy, like we've talked about,
Yeah.
call your health inspector.
Oh, yes.
Email them. You know, Matthew Ludkeys, who I have at our West 11th location, and we've had different ideas. And I'm like, hey, can we do this? No. Okay, good. Can we do this? Yes. Okay, perfect. What type of equipment or permits do I need to try this?
Yeah.
And so it keeps me on the right side of the regulations. And they're just a wonderful resource. You know, don't view them as the boogeyman. I mean, they're not. They're there to help you. Even in normal times, they're there to help you be better. And now I found them to be really helpful. You know, I'd say as well, obviously, look, if you're not on the chamber's email lists, those are helpful, as well as Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association. Jason Brandt and those folks send out a ton of great information. If you're not in the restaurant trade, you should find your groups, your industry's trade group, and get on that. Probably though, one of the other really good resources I've had is call another business owner you know, check in on them, because you actually are a resource as well. You may feel completely flustered and scared and beaten down and all of that, but you are a resource. You know something somebody else needs to know. And you may have a friend who's running a company or who was running a company before all this. Call them, check in on them. Mental health right now is, at the best of times in the Northwest, we struggle with mental health. And I told my wife when this all started, I said, the number one thing we need to look out for is increased suicide rates. And sure enough, Portland posted on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, their police department, that those calls are up 41% from this time last year. So call and just check on people because they're struggling and suffering. And, you know, just call and have something to give. You may get something out of it. I had a great conversation and got connected with Chad West, you know, from Westrant. And I idolize it. I look at them as operators. They run such a nice, clean shop. And Chad and I have had a couple of really good discussions, and it's like, okay, we're going to be friends. You can tell that, you know, you start to meet people who are kindred spirits. I mean, it's nice just to see Natalie.
Good to see you too.
And so reach out to the people who also do what you do. You can help one another. They may know something you don't, and vice versa. And it's just nice.
You can also come up with those brainstormy sort of ideas when we're talking about, you know, growing that extra octopus leg or whatever that, you know, the business community that we have around us is creative and thoughtful, and you might have half an idea and somebody might have the rest of it, or somebody might have half an idea that you could fill in, that you don't know that there's this idea out there that you could complete.
Right.
So I think
we've struggled over the last year or so to build a decent small, you know, lunch sandwich catering operation. I may or may not have been on Natalie's website a week ago and gone, oh, okay, I see the platform she's using. This is really interesting. And I have a phone call with them in 2 days. You know, that may or may not have happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Easy Cater.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm supposed to send you the link so that like I get benefit. Like
I will do that. Now it's been documented. That's where I found them. So, but yeah, learn from people who are doing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and just don't be afraid to try.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. We'll just wrap up here. It looks like our questions, we kind of went through all of them. So final thoughts, anybody?
Take care of
No?
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just take care of yourself and be kind to yourself, because it's a tough time and nobody could have prepared for this. You are doing the best you can.
Yeah. Don't watch the news. It's not helpful. Find a spot. I read early on, I was stressed out of my mind the first couple of days. And then I read somebody had posted something. They're like, if you're finding yourself stressed, pick like 1 or 2 spots to get news from once a day, and limit yourself to that. And then make sure you cut off.
Somebody in comedy.
What's that?
Preferably somebody in comedy.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Be brief and be structured about it. And then shut it off and make sure you have a chance to actually unwind and forget about all this for a little while. But remember too, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
It's gonna end, and we are winning. That's the thing. What we are doing is worth it, and it's working. So it's gonna pass.
Good. Yeah. Well, that's a perfect segue, because our next webinar is on Wednesday, April 22nd, for those of you who can join us. It's about promoting mental health and worker health, and how can that be on the forefront of everybody's minds. So yeah, that'll be Wednesday, April 22nd. It originally was supposed to be yesterday, but our speaker unfortunately had to cancel at the last minute. So we were able to fortunately reschedule. I know I personally am really looking forward to that one. So all of you watching, check out our website. It'll be on there. And thank you so much, Justin and Natalie, for taking the time to do this. Having you guys give us your feedback, give us your thoughts. It's been really, really helpful. So everyone, reach out to them. Go check out all of their social media stuff. It's really good work. So you guys have an excellent rest of your day. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Yes.
And I will be enjoying space up here while you all are down there.
Thanks, Natalie.
Yes, of course. Have a great day.
Bye.